Welcome back to another episode of your Mental Health Matters conversation. I hope you're all well. It's May. I love May. I'm a little biased. My birthday is in May, but this month has started with such great energy, and I am excited for this conversation today. I'm going to have my sister on, my best friend, Marrissa. We are going to dive into this topic. I'm going to wait for Marrissa to join. Quick music recommendation. Dante Bowen Friday has a song called Grateful. Amazing. This song is fire. I just see Marissa cooperates with us. Bro, I'm gonna try to add you right now. Hello.
Hi, brother.
Wow. What's going on?
Oh, it's a beautiful, rainy, gloomy Sunday.
Beautiful. Over here is okay. I won't describe my own. It's
Oh,
nice.
I know it's beautiful down there. You down in Texas. You loving it. I
I was
honestly,
like
I love a
gloomy.
gloomy
I was like
day.
gloomy. No, girl, not over here. No.
I love a gloomy day. I feel like it induces the cozy vibes. It induces kind of like wanting to be in the crib, wanting to maybe like put on a movie and just kind of like chill and relax. I feel like we're constantly trying to like hustle and do the thing. So like gloomy days kind of induce that vibe.
Yeah, and on a Sunday, it's kind of a good vibe as well. I was joking, like I mean it, but I was joking as well. Like, yeah, on a Sunday, that's a vibe, bro. I don't like. For me, in my head, as soon as you got on, I was like, bro, let's just pretend nobody's here. Like, we can just talk.
Yeah.
But I always do an intro, right, before I dive into the conversation. What did you keep saying? Treat me like any guest. Treat me like it.
Treat
So,
me like every other guest.
this is just the part where I'm going to do a quick intro, and then we're going to dive into our topic today, right? Why
Okay.
we're here today. So, welcome back to another episode of your Mental Health Matters conversation. As I say before every conversation, this space is for all of us. This space is for us to be able to come share our minds, share our stories, share our experiences. As I say in every episode, one of my favorite quotes is a smart person learns from their mistakes, but a wise person learns from other people's mistakes. And that means we can learn from each other. We can be tools and helpers to each other. And today, I am excited. I gotta say it loud and proud to have my sister, my best friend, on Marrissa. And Marrissa, we've done this before, but they didn't even hear that first episode. But like, this is the
No.
part where I'm gonna pass you the mic. I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, bro, and then we gonna get started.
Yeah, hi. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me on this Sunday or whatever day that you're listening. Um, my name is Marissa. I don't even know what should I say about myself.
Bro,
Policy extraordinaire. No,
multifaceted.
I do all the things. My friends like to call me a Jill of all trades. But mainly, I center myself around just trying to be a good person. And so basically in every facet of my life, I try to focus on just being a good person. And I think that reflects in like my relationships, whether they be platonic or not, whether they be, in my work, working in policy, mainly focusing on like social justice issues. And now like focusing on going back to school, right? Just so that way I can kind of like further that work and how we are mainly affecting Black and Brown communities, if I'm really telling the truth.
And when you said I don't know what to say, that's what you needed to say right there, right there, bro. Let them know. Let them know who you are. And for me, bro, I have thought about this moment because I have to for every guest because I mean it truly from my heart to give you your flowers, bro. And like, where do I start from somebody that I've literally grown up with, like that's been in my life since I was 11 years old? Like, what do you say in the moment where when we play this back, I want you to know how much I love you, bro. And to be honest, it's your soul, your spirit, like who you are. who you've grown into, the woman that you are. You are by far one of the strongest women I know in my life.
Oh, thank
Like
you.
one of the strongest women, one of the people that like you demand and you take up space and you know that that space is yours. And I respect that about you. And I was gonna just say one thing that I always wanted to say to you. We ain't have the moment, but we're gonna have it right now, just because it's valuable to me. When I was thanking God for us to have this conversation, I just want to say to your face, bro. There was a time in my life where I was in a new thing that I never knew what to do, and I was slowly maybe losing myself in that thing. And the most familiar thing was you in that season. And going into our conversation, the most familiar thing was you. And you made sure I kept my head above that water to be able to get myself out. And I just want to thank you, bro, because that's who you are. That's who you've always been. And I would say everyone in your life can echo what I'm saying, that like you are just a great human. And for me, I know a lot of humans, and like I've known you my whole life. You are a one of one, bro. So I just got to say that right to you, just
I appreciate
just
you, bro.
to
I
start,
appreciate
bro.
you. That might be one of the kindest things you've ever said to me. I really do appreciate you.
I might as well say it in public. Now you can say. Now you can't say I ain't ever say that ain't nice.
You're right. I can play it back. I can listen to it as many times as I need to. Whenever you're being mean to me, I'm just
You're
gonna
just
play
gonna
this back and be like,
play
"You
that shit
said
like, nigga,
this."
you
Yeah,
said this.
you said this. It's on the record. No, I really appreciate you. You are one of my best friends. You know this. You're my brother. I will always be there for you. I don't pride myself on being the friend that talks to all my friends every single day. In fact, I'm probably the worst at doing that. But I really do try to show up for my friends
There you go.
in good times and in bad times. And I'm not perfect. I don't think any of us are, but like you said, continuing to grow from those mistakes, continuing to grow from the mistakes around you, and constantly like putting that effort in matters, and people can see that. And so I appreciate that you see that. And I also just want to say, you have always been a rock for me. You're somebody that I know I can always depend on. And without you, I don't know if I would be here. Like having the people in my life that I have, surrounding myself with the people that I do. I don't have a very like large circle. I have a very core circle. It's
Yeah.
very small, but they are the people that I lean on in my toughest moments, and without that, I wouldn't be here. So, appreciate you for everything you've ever done for me, whether it be good or bad.
Why you gotta end it? I was about to say, bro, me too.
Because I'll never forget those white pants you destroyed. I won't.
We're not doing this in the whole public forever. As you said, we can listen to this back. But bro,
Exactly.
that kind of segues into like, and everything I just heard, y'all, was to understand this is a woman that I've known in all my seasons in my life. She's known me in every season. I've known her in her seasons, and like the conversation today, the topic being new seasons, defining your energies, right? I feel like when I thought about this. I remember when I called you and I texted you first when I was like, yo, bro, this is the topic I would want us to talk about, because I think for both of us, just talking to even our personal lives, like in the last 6 months,
Oh my
new seasons.
God. So many transformations.
You feel me? So
Yeah.
it's like I know we can have that conversation, and then my mind kept on growing on it for us to be able to talk about like understanding and identifying how do you move in a new season, because people want to be in new seasons, just want to move on. But when you are in new seasons that are going to be integral to your growth, that are going to be integral to who you become, that these aren't play seasons. These are the ones that are going to get you to where you want to go. You have to then understand, how's the mind in that? How is the mind moving in that? And I guess the first question I want to ask you is the mindset in a new season. Like, how do you, like, it's weird asking you this because we talk about everything, but like, I want you to say, how do you identify the mindset that you're going to keep at the forefront that leads you when you enter a new season?
Well, I don't think you initially know what you're gonna do, right? I think all of us kind of like have this idea of, okay, when something bad happens or when things start to change in general, we're all a little bit afraid of change. And so when things start to change in like major ways, it's kind of like, what's going on?
Yeah,
Um, and you kind of have to take that moment and like evaluate what is happening. And so I know for me specifically, I think my major seasonal shift started at the end of last year. I did a 23andMe test just for health reasons and found out way more information than I had bargained for. Um, and then I'm like trying to deal with that through the holidays. The holidays, I think, for a lot of us are like not a great time. I'm leaning very hard on my therapist because at this point I've already worked at a mental health, a behavioral health organization, and I understand how important it is that like I take care of my mental in something that's so challenging. And then I get laid off, and then I'm like, oh, okay.
no,
And I'm at the same time, this happens like right before I'm waiting to hear back if I got into grad school. And so I'm like, okay, there are a lot of things happening at one time. And so you lean into this whole like, okay, I have to have flying faith and everything's going to work out. But that's like easier said than done, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
leaning into the fact that it's okay to have bad days. It's okay to like not be okay. I think we're all like, we gotta like power through and we have to like be on top of it and like we can't have a bad day, when really like those bad days are like monumental for like whatever season you're going into. You gotta let it out. You gotta like get it out of your system, whether it's journaling, whether it's crying, whatever it is, right? Like, and
yeah,
it's okay to have several of those days because you are going through a lot.
yeah,
Um, but knowing that what you're working towards is so much larger than what it is that you were already doing and where you were already sitting, I think that like gives you some type of faith and like a little bit more balance to like the gloom and doom that we can kind of feel in those moments. um and then that's kind of like what you kind of lean into. And I know for me, like you've known me my whole life,
yeah.
so I'm not somebody who allows myself to like really be set back for too long. I am a fixer. I'm gonna
We
try, if
move,
I
we
can't fix
move.
everything, but I can fix everything in my control. And so I identify what's in my control and I actively work on those things because I know that like these are the goals that are gonna get me where I need to be. Whether that's a fitness goal, whether that's a mental goal. Like for me, staying on top of my mental health was the most important thing. So figuring out how do I make sure that I'm keeping up with my therapist. Do I need to journal more? Because journaling doesn't work for everybody, and it didn't work for me for a very long time.
Yeah,
For me, the method of journaling that works is brain dumping, just dumping everything out of my brain, not feeling like there has to be any type of cohesiveness to it, not feeling like I have to do it every single day, but just knowing that I can get everything and anything that's on my mind out,
that you have that tool that you can go to,
and I can
which
use
is so
it.
valuable because journaling sometimes everyone thinks it's like every day.
Mm-hmm.
It's like no, you use the tool so it can help what you needed to
And I
help essentially.
think people also kind of like romanticize like the idea of what journaling is supposed to look like. Like I think on TV, it's like, dear journal, and today such and such happened, and and like that's not what my journaling
Yeah,
looks like, right? And like that's not what your journaling has to look like. It looks like you getting whatever is on your mind out of your mind, because we're not supposed to have that much stuff cluttering up our brains anyway.
yeah.
Like we're
And in this
constantly
society, we
doing
got everything cluttering up our brain, so we're already at that deficit.
We're
So then
overexposed
learn.
to everything. So
Yeah,
why increase that and try to keep everything in our minds? And like I remember for a really long time I was good at being like, "Oh, yeah, I won't write it down. I'll just remember it. I have a really good memory. I'll just remember it."
yeah. Those days are gone.
Those days are far gone.
Yeah,
And also there was nothing wrong with remembering with writing it down and saying like this is a method of remembering it, because you're absolutely going to remember. You're going to see that little piece of paper later on.
yeah.
Whereas you might be saying, I'm going to mentally take notes of 20 things throughout the day and five of them slip through.
Mm,
So
yeah.
I think kind of like finding the things that work for you and settle you and ground you, and then remembering that like your goals are bigger than the present space that you're in, and like you can push forward and you can get out of that. It's not as easy as it seems, and everybody likes to make it sound like it's like a pretty thing, because nobody's talking about the hard days.
No,
Everybody's talking
no,
about the highlight reel.
and bro, you know how I feel about that. Like, no, the hard people don't. Sometimes you don't understand that life's percentages and the things you're going through is like they might be harder than the good in one season. They might be good than the hard, like those, but those things come along, and it's like, how can we just show the good? Like to not say that there was some hard, guys. Hard, it was annoying. I was frustrated.
There were mental breakdowns. There were days
Yeah,
that I didn't think that I could do it, you know, like, and there were days that I was over caffeinated and jittering and I was scared. Like,
yeah.
it's okay to say like that those days
I feel like
happen, because those are the days that like are pivotal. You remember those days, and you remember how hard you worked to get out from underneath that feeling.
exactly, and I would say that that's universal, right? Like,
Hmm.
because if you're human, you have those days. You have the, oh wow, today was very seamless. Today was great, and you have the days where, oh, there was a little ripple here, and then you have a bad day. Like we have, as a human, we have those days, but it's understanding that like we can't only think that when I have a good day, that's why life is good. No, when you
Hmm.
have a bad day, sometimes that could just that you can learn a lesson. You can
It's
learn how to
leading
calm
you to a
down.
space where life can be great.
And I'm not saying, and just like we don't want bad days, but I'm saying the reality is there will be. So it's like
And also sometimes when you look back, right, like your mindset when you're in the story versus when you're past it is a completely
it's
different thing,
totally different.
right? Like
Yes,
when you're in
definitely.
the struggle of it, it's like the hardest thing ever. And
Hmm.
when you come out on the other end, you're like, wow, I did this thing and I feel accomplished and I'm so
You,
proud of myself.
you know one thing, like I've talked about hindsight for like since like this whole journey. You're laughing because you know how much I say the word hindsight. Like I think of it so much and like understanding things I have hindsight about, things of where I was feeling, but what I understand now, seeing the difference in that. The first time that shit happened to me, I was like, holy shit. Like you could be completely wrong, bro. That's part of
Hmm.
life. Like you could have been completely wrong.
Yep.
Like hindsight. Hindsight is not just good, it's like you see it for what it is. But the thing about life is it continues to have that part of it, right? You will have hindsight for this moment in 2 years. You will. It will happen. Whatever is happening, you will have.
Hmm.
But then I try to bring hindsight closer to me to understand that, like, okay, in hindsight, when I do have that conversation because it's going to happen, what did I want to think about? What did I want to remember that I remembered? Because that also thought helps the thought when we're like, it's easier than said.
Hmm.
It helps give you a tool to say, no, but there's a goal. I don't want to think that like I just blacked.
And for that reason, I think that that specific reason makes me feel like I'm so much more prepared to go back and get my master's, because I'm like, I now know what like I'm gonna be going through and what I'm preparing myself for and like what that's gonna give me at the end of it. When I first went
Yeah,
to school and I was going through college, there were moments that I was like, I didn't even want to do this. Like, I understand why I have to do this. Everybody says if you go to college, you're going to be like financially free, you're
yeah,
going to be able to like live a great life, right? And then you get to the end of it. Us millennials, it sucks for us because we had a great childhood and now everything is going up in flames as we're adults.
yeah,
And the bar keeps like being widened. Like, we at one point in time, it was you go to college, you're going to be able to afford a house, you're going to have a good job, and everything is going to be great. By the time we got to the space we're able to afford houses, we can't
yeah,
afford houses because the economy is up in flames. Like, the
yeah,
goal keeps getting further and further away for us. And so sometimes it's like, well, what is the point? And so you have to have something that is like really passionate for you. Otherwise, it's not going to be worth it.
yeah.
And I took my time in figuring that out, and now I'm like, I can absolutely get this degree. I can absolutely go back and like manage this while I'm working and doing all the
By
things.
the way, I've said this, and you know how much I've said this to you, but like even you just saying that right now, bro, I just want to say like Bro, that's like you're doing life. You're participating.
But we didn't know what life was back then.
We didn't. We didn't understand where we would come to, right? But when we do understand where we are, we choose to participate. The thing is, I'm sure those conversations to figuring out, to applying, to writing stuff, to being attentive, to waiting, that was a whole season.
I was going through that whole season while like dealing with so many other things at the same time that I was like, I don't know. Something needs to just be settled. I need something in my life to be settled so that way I can feel like I have control over something.
Yeah.
Everything was
But
moving.
you know, one thing I learned, and the pandemic really put this in my mind, and I've used it a lot, is uncertainty is not your enemy. It's not. We we usually treat it as such, and then blame ourselves for not just befriending
Fair,
uncertainty.
very fair.
Yeah,
I think the reason why I was so uncertain is because I put all my eggs in one basket for school. I knew I wanted to go to this specific school. I knew I wanted to do this specific program. I did not apply to any plan Bs. This was the one and only. And so I was planning my like year, my like life around this like one thing. And so many things were blowing up in the process of me waiting for that. And I was just kind of like, Jesus, take the wheel.
and
Something needs
yeah.
to happen. I was like, you need to give me a sign. And then I got in and I was like, okay, amazing. We've done the work. Now we just have to follow this path. Everything else is gonna like fall
Yeah.
into frame.
Right there, ooh, girl, you just dived into a question. One question, bro. You said the word path, and my mind said question. Yo, and just to let y'all know, I talked to me and Marissa talked. So there was a conversation we had, and you said something that was like a bar to me, and I wrote it down, and I said, and I feel like you're right there right now, and I want you to expound. After I tell you this, you're gonna remember what I mean.
I
Um,
hope so.
you said sometimes it's about taking the scenic route versus the direct path.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So essentially, I think what I was getting at there, right, is like I in the process of like being in this space, right? You're having mindset shifts all the time. Every day you don't really know how to wake up because you're like dealing with different things.
Yeah,
Um and you're trying to see like where the wind is going to blow for the season. Like where are we actually going this season? I know that we're changing, I know that we're doing something, but where are we going? And sometimes I think in those moments we start to reflect on, well, if I did this earlier, if I did that, am I behind? Am I like where I'm supposed to be? Right? Like you start thinking about all the things that you did wrong, and you're
yeah,
like, if I did this earlier, would I be where I want to be?
yeah.
Would I not be struggling with this right now? And I really had to kind of get off of that mindset and redirect it and say, like, there are really no bad decisions in life, right? Like, in fact, there are
Learn.
just lessons to be learned along the way. And so sometimes we take direct paths towards our goals, and then our goals shift. And so we're like, well, I wasn't even on the right path, right? And then sometimes we take the scenic route and you learn a lot of lessons along the way and you get to that goal and you have everything that you need
Yeah.
to be there and to be successful. And so I started thinking of like, okay, these were never wrong decisions. You were learning from these different lessons. You were picking up tools along the way. You honed different skills. You've done a lot.
Can, I,
We don't give ourselves like props for the little wins.
can you just tell people, because I know you can you just tell people the guts and the courage to have that conversation while leaning back to understanding that you're still who the fuck you are?
Yeah, I mean, you know, those
Sorry
are
for
the
my voice.
no, it's okay. It's like those are the conversations we're like having with ourselves, right? And then also like for me, it's like I'm having it with my therapist. I'm like, am I bugging out? Like, is what is happening like what's supposed to be happening? And I think what really ends up happening is that like you're not necessarily reconvincing yourself of your power, but like you are giving yourself the vulnerability to say like I'm scared in this moment. I am afraid, I am hurt, I am whatever the feelings may be. Um and I think we like to shy away from that. And in fact there's nothing like stronger than being able to be vulnerable and like share those experiences. Um Even if it's just out loud to yourself, because I think a lot of times we have problems just admitting things to ourselves. Like we're in
Yeah,
denial to ourselves.
bro, right there. I feel like one thing I see a lot is like people want people to validate their vulnerability, and they're not validating their own vulnerability before you seek it from anybody else. Like you have to validate for yourself the vulnerable thing, as you said. That you don't need an audience to just say it out loud to you or say it in your
Mm-hmm.
mind, in your space, in your private time. But know that that's okay to say. But what else can you say after you said it? You know?
Yeah, I think there just becomes a point for some people, and I don't know if everybody gets to this point, but I know for me, especially like heading into my 30s, it was really about like, what are my values and what am I working towards? And how are the daily decisions I'm making reflecting that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and that doesn't mean being loud and proud and strong. Sometimes it's about being soft and quiet and being able to like hold
Yeah.
space for people.
I've had, can I ask you a question? Okay, now we're just talking because you know I would do this in the conference. But when you say, sorry guys, I'm not gonna. I do this when she speaks
You
sometimes.
do.
Can I ask you a question? Is it you? Do you want to be strong or do you want to be courageous?
I want to be me.
You want
I want to be
to.
like so authentically me, right? Like in some moments that means I'm strong, in some moments that means I'm courageous, in some moments that means I'm scared.
Amen.
But like still doing it, right? Like that's the real thing. Like even in those moments, not shying away from saying I'm still gonna do this. It's a risk. I'm
Yeah.
not super comfortable in this moment, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And like I think that's what it is. It's about having the faith to just say I'm gonna do it anyway.
Yeah.
And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, I learned something from it.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of times, a lot of things in my life is like you do it anyway, and you understand that like now there's a new path for other lessons.
Hmm.
So like it's not the doing it anyway and just say you did it. Now it's like what's going into what you did. Like how is that shaping out as well? And one thing I wanted to talk about as well is like pace, right?
Hmm.
We have these conversations a lot about with ourselves, right? But we at times we might be moving faster then we may need to still discern. You know,
Hmm.
like it's okay to have that moment that like there may have been a little more discernment needed
Hmm.
before I moved forward, or I had the discernment and I should have moved forward. You know, it's pace, and I just wanted to talk about like when you're in a new season and you're defining your energies, like understanding your pace. And one thing I wrote here is like learning your pace and the world's pace. I was gonna say verses, by the way, bro. I changed it just now. I have verses on the book, but I don't think it's a verses because verses makes it that like you gotta. I'm not. It's not even that you gotta fight it. It's that you gotta
Hmm.
know it exists and you have to be beyond just that. So how do you move in pace?
I think I think it's about finding balance if we're being totally honest. Um, because the pace is always going to change. Like some days you're going to pick it up and some days you're not. And I think um the idea of permanence for me has changed, right? And thinking that
Mm,
things have to like be a certain type of way. I'm very type A. And so I like to be in control of a lot of things. And when I want to do certain things, I want to do them on my timing and understanding that not just like the world's timing, but God's timing, the universe's timing. sometimes it has a different plan for you.
Yeah.
And being able to take that with a little bit of like a little grain of salt and saying like, okay, there's a lesson for me to be learned in this. And what is it that I can be working on right now? And kind of like for me, I try to bring it down to like the micro level of personally on myself. And I'm just like, is it my, because I'm constantly asking God for patience. And then he puts me in situations and I'm like, well, this is not what I meant.
Like I can see where you're trying to make me patient, but all of this.
This is not what I meant. Um, Sometimes it's um because I'm in therapy, I'm like very like self-aware, and so like I know that like I lack patience, I lack certain communication skills, I lack like certain social skills.
Yeah.
um and with that, like understanding like what can I be learning in this moment, and constantly knowing that I can learn from anyone and anything at any moment, and all of those smaller things lead up to like being a bigger person, a better person, a better friend,
Yeah.
a better worker.
You know, you know one thing, as you just said that, my mind just connected something. It's like when people be like, you got to be open, right? The thing is, like, I want to tell people, you got to be open, but with taste.
Yeah, yeah. I'm never like, I'm open. I'm always open to like what can come my way, but I'm not going to take every
Yeah.
opportunity.
And that's where the word discernment comes from. There's a lot of words that people use, right? I really need them to go, just look up and stop throwing around. But one thing I will say in this moment, if you want to look it up and what I'm saying to parallel what we're saying, this is where discernment comes in. Where life isn't about sheltering. Life is about being open, but also having your discernment with you. It's like, think about the old days. I like old school movies, like the medieval times, like the warrior, he had everything. Like, he's not sheltered. He's going into the town, but he got his sword.
Because I got that thing on me, okay?
I got that thing on me, bro, and I'm good with it. So it's like you have to understand, like in my mind, it's like understanding, and that's pace, right? Because in there, you got that warrior has to be present. He's going into a new town. He has to see everything, but also know this is a threat. We have something that we can use to defend ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that you just said, and you kind of said it in like before, but I wanted to bring it up, is like change, right? Like when you're, you know one thing life does, and this I'm forgetting everyone is here. I just want, and, bro, you know one thing life does is like even when you got good pace, things just keep changing.
Yep.
So it's like now you have to pivot, but keep pace. And well, you're nodding, so I would say, like in those modes, right? Like, what's your mind doing? Because my mind is like, but we got to do it. What's your mind doing in that moment?
I think um definitely but we got to do it. Um, but I truly like, I lock in. I'm like, you see me in some of my like moments, and I've been like,
Nah,
it's time to get to
one thing
it.
I'm gonna say is I have seen this woman, this grown woman, move mountains.
Like sometimes you gotta make shit shake, and like you really gotta find it within you to say like, I got this. No matter whatever comes, it's like I'm gonna hold it down. And I think I can say for myself, it's been like my whole upbringing, right? Like I didn't have a super easy upbringing, and so in that I find like this inner strength to be like, whatever they said about me, I'm gonna prove them wrong, and now is the time.
Yeah,
Now's my time to really shine. Like now's my time to really like do my big one and come out on the other end of this even stronger.
yeah.
And I know that's like there's like a lot of ego in that. There's a lot of ego in that, but it like it helps, and
Yeah.
it pushes me in the right direction, because it's not a matter of like wanting like, oh, like you're a bad person, blah blah blah, like, or like wishing ill or negative on anybody else. It's never like in that direction. And it's more of like big up in myself to say whatever y'all thought and said about me, family, friends, whoever, whatever.
Yeah, it's
I'm
different.
her.
Yeah, I
I'm
was
really
about to
her. I'm
say
different. I'm
you
different.
miscalculate, and it's for me. We kind of share the same cloth on this one. It's like you miscalculated. You miscalculated, and
And
it's
that's also
okay.
the time for
I
you to
got
show
enough
up.
grace for you to miscalculate.
That's also the time for you to like show up and actually do the thing, right? Because a lot of people are like, I'm her or I'm him, and like they don't know, they can't show up for themselves
Yeah,
in those ways. I am highly critical of myself,
yeah,
and so in some ways that makes it even easier for me to like push and do certain things, and in other ways it makes it really harder. Like it makes it super like when things aren't panning out the way that I want them to, I can be very critical of myself and be like, well, you're not doing enough. And you're not like,
mm,
and sometimes the universe is like, no, you just have to wait. You got to be kinder to yourself.
mhm,
So there's some give and take with that.
yeah.
And not everybody can also like thrive under that type of pressure and underneath that type of like,
That type of maneuvering back
yeah,
and forth, and even when you were saying that, I'm like outside looking in, right? That would be somebody saying, "Hey, you make it look effortless," right? Like, well, I don't want to be, I would never be that person. I know that the things, and it's in there, but it's like I think one thing about life, the life we will live is that strengthens us. That strengthens us so much to understand that like there are things to draw from. I once heard this sermon that was like, I ain't telling basically what he was saying, I'm remixing. I ain't telling people to just be remembering bad things. Like don't be remembering the past all the time. I'm just telling you to remember that you moved things. And it's like the next thing that you're trying to move does may not be the biggest thing in the world, right? But have some encouragement within yourself
yeah.
that you moved something before.
But also sometimes you do need people outside of you to remind you. And I remember one of my really good friends from college, she and I were having a conversation one time, and she had said something to the effect of, like you always get a bag. Like you, no matter what you got to do, you make sure that you're handled. And even if that means you have to pivot, like you're somebody who I really admire in that way because sometimes I get very stuck. And I was like, wow, I didn't know y'all looked at me like that because in those moments I'm doing it scared. I don't know what I'm doing. Sometimes I'm just making decisions to just do it.
Yeah, yeah, bro. As you're saying that, one time I was in a Lyft ride, right, and it was like this. I'll probably say she was like in her 40s. I'm not trying to just put age out here, but like it was a good conversation on the Uber ride, and I told her at that time I was like 6 months in here, and I was like, yeah, I just moved from New York and everything's going well and everything, and I just decided to be vulnerable. Like I'm not gonna see this woman again, and I was like, yeah, it was a little scary, you know there was a lot of scary moments, but I had to like find my way through that, find my way to move through that, to grow through that. And she said, "I'm thank you for sharing that. It could be scary because I don't
Hmm.
hear people say that enough."
We don't even say it to our friends, right? And I think
Yeah,
like that it's such an interesting thing because our friends are people who we feel closest with, but like there are moments that like we can share what we're going through, but we still don't use that language. Like I
that
don't know
word.
if I've ever like truly sat down and told you I'm scared,
Yeah,
right? But like I've gone to you with problems, and I like obviously like you know me well enough to know my behaviors and to know my mannerisms to say like she's not all right. She probably is scared. You could probably infer that.
yeah,
But we're not like actively using that language every day because it's not something that like we're told to use.
yeah,
We're told that we have to be strong, we have to put on this front, like I don't I'm sure you and I are very alike in this, where like your family is like whatever's happening at home, you don't share with people outside. That's not
yeah.
nobody
We don't
else's
do that.
business. You know what I mean? And so you start to really like compartmentalize your life in a lot of ways. And even when you are starting to like share certain things, you only share to a certain extent, and you're not like really like getting to the nitty gritty. And so that what getting back to vulnerability, right? Like that vulnerability is a true superpower.
Yeah.
Being able to say I still did it scared, being able to say I was afraid in that moment and I didn't know what I was gonna do, but like I still did it.
And and for me, even in that example and everything you just said as well, was like I just said it, but I didn't expect to get a lesson from
Mhm.
saying it. Like I didn't expect that. Like, wait, wow, that's we don't talk about that. Like I think I would be remiss to be like, oh, everything's going well, and I'm not talking about that. There were moments, bro. I had it in my private time where I was going back and forth on it, where things were in my mind that like I wouldn't share in this very moment, but it happened. And why
Yeah.
don't we talk about those parts? Because I know all of us have them. All of us have them. And one thing I also, bro, just real quick, because it's the time, and I want us to dive into these things. It's like defining, because the subheading was defining your energies, right? And I wanted to ask you, how are you defining your energies? But then I had a sub thing for that question:
Mhm.
the shifts of your energy. How are you defining yourself within those?
Um, I think right now, more than anything, defining my energy is really focusing on the things that bring me peace, focusing on the things that bring me joy, even in this moment of like chaos. Um, and also paying attention to who and what those things are and what those feelings that they bring up inside of me, right? Bringing it always back to Allison. I got to give her props.
Yeah.
She's my longest
Shout
relationship
out to
ever,
Allison.
holding
Play
her,
this part
holding
for
me down.
her.
um, we really talk about how like the somatic part of therapy, which is like the internalized feeling that we have, and we all have it, right? Like when we've all been traumatized in certain ways, and sometimes we don't have the language to express it, but when something happens, like we feel it.
Yeah.
And so really focusing on like what does peace and joy feel like to me, and how can I bring that into my life? And for me, that's romanticizing my life. Is how do I kind of give myself a little bit more ease? How do I be a little bit kinder to myself? Um, because in this shift right now, it is very chaotic, and I don't need to be even more critical of myself than I normally am.
Yeah.
Um, but when I shift out of that space, it's gonna be okay. Well, like, how do we either like get to the bag, or how do we do this, or how do we do that, right? Like, what is the goal of that season that you're focusing on? And so I'm focusing on my relationships. I really want to like build my relationships with my friends. I want to learn how to be a little more verbal and communicate better and express my vulnerability. I'm like getting to a space where I feel safe enough to like do that. Because I think a lot of us also like we have a feeling of fearing that like we're going to be rejected.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and rejection comes in all forms. Uh, even with your friends, where sometimes they may not be available to talk to you, and in that moment you feel rejected, and now you're like, okay, well, I don't want to talk about it with you anymore, right? Like
Yeah.
trying to be like, okay, how can I be more vulnerable with these people so they understand where I'm coming from and how I'm feeling and how they can. Nobody's a mind reader. We don't know what's going
Yeah.
on with anybody else, and so how can they be a little more aware of what's happening, and in a world where I can be more aware of what's happening with them, right? And like building out those relationships, because those are the people that I care about, and those are the things that I can also control, right? Like um focusing on how do I make sure that I am going to be the strongest student that I possibly can be. I haven't been in school for 10 years, and that's like a big shift.
Yeah.
um so reaching out to my professors in advance, because I know that like making those relationships with them is just going to make things easier. I'm going to be able to get internships. I'm going to be able to get fellowships. I'm going to be able to like be in the spaces that I want to be in. And they're going to have recommendations, and they have networks, right? Not just
Yeah.
like the school's network, but like their own personal networks. And you never know who somebody knows who might be able to help you out with something. So I think really focusing on like what is the goal of that season, and how can you best prepare yourself to achieve that goal.
Yeah.
And I think that defines the energy.
Bro, number one, I've done this before. I don't know if you heard the episode. That was one of the best answers I've gotten on this since I've been doing this. Because for me, you like thank you for expounding, but thank you for also giving us the most important word of peace. Because peace means that I am taking the responsibility to manage my life.
And I mean, therapy is honestly something that taught me that. I think we are all very traumatized in this world today. I think we all have baggage that our family, friends, like just life circumstances have given us,
Yeah,
um, and that's not our fault.
yeah,
But it is our job to focus on our healing. It is your job to figure out who you want to be in this world as a productive human being and how you want to show up.
yeah.
And you have control over what that looks like. And for me, it's based on being a good human being in all aspects.
And I think the key word right there too for me is like showing up, right? Like, bro, like one of my defining things, and you know this about me, is that like I want to go the way God has told me to go. You know, like I want to move in that direction, even if it's inconvenient sometimes. I want to do that, and but at the end of the day, for me, what brings me peace is if I think of the situation, if I showed up, not some because you can think about a situation, you realize you ain't show up. You ain't give your all in that. So it's like you can have those moments. But if I have moments where I'm like I'm showing up, and I'm showing up as the best me, I've had to learn a lot of times that people will misuse that, which is okay. But you also have to understand that like that doesn't mean that you stop showing up.
Yeah.
When you show up for yourself, that's where you can have that sense of peace. And that's one thing about being in a new season. And we talked about this the first time I broached this subject with you, and I just want to bring it back. It's like a lot of people want to talk about they're in a new season, they're doing the new season things, everything is good, but nobody wants to talk about that beginning stage, that first week, 2, 3 week, and I will go even
And
draw
sometimes it's
into
longer than that.
everything. Yeah, bro, like everything that we've experienced in these last months. Now, how have I moved from the 1 week, 2 week, 3 week to 1 month, 2 month, 3 months? Like nobody wants to talk about that in the new seasons. And I think when you understand that, like every new season, you have to find your way to start with peace
Mm.
to do it. And I guess this is an impromptu question. It's like, oh, I'll put it with another thing. I just looked down, bro. I wrote a lot of like we were talking. I feel like peace also requires you, and this I'll bring God into it right now. Peace requires you to be okay with due time and due.
Mm.
I don't gotta describe it to you because we talk about this, so I just want you to talk about it. Can you put that thought out there and like how you use the peace and how you use the rationality of in due time to help you move forward?
I mean, and I think once again, I think when people hear you say that, they're gonna think like, oh, it's peaceful throughout the whole time that you're like thinking of due time and like eventually, and it's like, no, there are waves. There are waves of everything's great, everything's great, everything's great. Holy shit, my life is on fire. What can I do? What can I do? What can I do?
Yeah,
Um, and I think it's really helpful to have a core circle, people who you are safe and can be vulnerable with to like talk to and like they can remind you and kind of like bring you out of it. I think spending time with people, like minded individuals, people who love you, people who care about you, to kind of like ground you and bring you back because once again, it's not too good to stay up in our heads.
yeah,
We are already a very isolated community. I was reading that like in the last 30, 40 years, right? Like we have become one of the like most like the loneliest societies based on like our industrialization and like our technology advancements.
yeah.
We feel
I can
like we're
agree with that.
connecting via social media because you no longer have this forced intimacy of having to be in person with someone. You can just comment on something and feel like you interacted with someone. Whereas 40, 50 years ago, everybody did not have a television in their house. You might have one person on the block who had a television and y'all gathered around the television together on a Sunday night as like neighbors and
Yeah,
had dinner together and
that's
did a thing.
community. And
that we don't have that
yeah,
anymore. We don't have those things anymore. We don't have a space that is helping us build community as much as they used to. And so we are a very lonely society. You have to get out of your head. You can't just like think that you can do it by yourself. You are an individual that needs community. We are humans. We need to be socialized. And I think the pandemic also put us in this like space of everybody having social anxiety, which is not a judgment on anybody. I have my own version of social anxiety that really can cripple me sometimes. I think it is our job and our duties to focus on our healing and to know that we need community and to know that we need to be in community with other people, with
yeah,
like minded individuals, with people who care about us, with people who can push us to grow. It's not just about, and because like I think a lot of people also like to be like, oh, well, my significant other, and I talk to them all the time. I love my boyfriend. I talk to my boyfriend all the time. He knows what's going on with me, but he is not the only person. I
yeah.
have friends. I have family. I have like a community outside of that. My mentor is amazing. When I got laid off within a month and a half, she gave me a consulting contract for her new organization that she's establishing. And I know that I'm going to learn so much with her. And her network is so extensive. And that is the benefit of having a community because all I did was text her. I didn't have to interview for that. I said, hey, Tracy, just letting you know this is the update on my life. I would love to send you my resume. If you could check it out and just let me know if there's any way that I could update it or fix it or make it look
Yeah.
better so that way I can like get out there and do interviews and such. She got back to me 2 weeks later and said, hey, let's hop on a call. I want to hire you for this. It's going to be a this month type of contract. Let me know what your number is. Don't lowball me. And I was like, wow, this woman really
And that's
cares about me.
the one thing that I didn't think we would talk about, but I do want to resound that point you're making, right? That you can't do this by yourself. And in the sense of like, you can do your thing, but you have to have a community that's helping you. And
Yeah,
you also have to be a community member that's helping others as well.
yeah.
So it's like the one, it's a sermon. I can't remember which one I was listening to, but it was like months ago where he was like, if you're out here thinking, even if it's all going well, that and you don't have people that are around you that can help you, or you don't have resources that can help you, or you're not a resource, that's not it. That's from the devil. The true thing is go after what you want, but you have to build a community, and that community will lift you up, but also
Hmm.
be someone that can help and lift people up as well. But understand, you can't do this by yourself. Like one thing God has taught me in everything I've done is there's no part of this life that I can keep isolated and just think I'm gonna be okay doing by myself.
Yeah.
Like I've had conversations with you. Remember the first break the well. We'll just tell them you're the first person I ever told about Dallas,
Yep.
ever.
Yep.
Because
And I was so excited for you. I was telling you to do it.
at some, I was having that conversation about. I told you that I was having that conversation by myself for a couple months.
Yep.
And you got to bring some type of community in. And if you're listening right now, it's just taking a step and believing that the community you have will show up for you. Because you're right. When I told her that, I was scared. Not scared to say it. I was scared to say it out loud, but I wanted to tell the one person that, like, in my life is like, bro, I would be going to another state. And you were like, yo, yeah, bro, do it. Like, what you mean?
You're paying for
And
everything.
for
Why
two
not get
months,
this
you're thinking
experience?
like,
Yeah.
will people feel, you know? So it's like that's what community can do. It can also help alleviate
But also
things.
having the right community, right? And like that's the thing. It's having the right community around you because you could have easily, and I don't think you could have easily come across this, but someone else with a different set of friends could have easily had a different conversation. And that could have been bro, you don't even know like what's gonna be out there. You don't know if you're gonna be able to manage everything. Like, I don't know if it's a good idea. You should just stay here, figure it out. Da da
Yeah,
da. Like that could have been a completely different conversation. And you could still be in New York and you could still be extremely miserable.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, that's the power of it, right? So understand what you said was going with what my spirit was telling me. You call your people because you're affirming it. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. I'm praying. And then the thing that your mind, that the enemy is trying to use against you, saying, the people that love you, do you want to go away? You speak to the one that loves you and says, let's go.
Yep.
It, it changes things. And I think in seasons, we have to also understand that, like, and I'm so happy we got here, like, in due time, that due, rely on your community because the time will be good.
Yep.
But you gotta have a good community. And one thing I've learned about this life, and I've been blessed to have in this life, is a community changes how you look at things.
Mhm.
Because you sometimes forget who you are, or you sometimes don't see who you are, and your community pours into you. And your important thing is also to be a person that can pour in as well. But if your cup is down, if you know another thing, by the way, I wanted to say this in this conversation just real quick. And then God did this to me in like the shower where I was like, we're talking about new seasons, new, right? Sometimes new is like you're down. This is
Mhm.
you are up, now you're down. And this new season, still rely on the community. If
Mhm.
it's down, like still rely on them because you can at least understand. For me, I've learned that even here, like they can help you to continue at least. But if
Yes.
you're up, definitely make sure your community is good and sound moving forward.
Always.
So, bro, all right. Before we get to the last question, right? We've gone down my book. I'm proud of us.
We made it.
But the one thing in being in a new season, defining your energy is also having reflections and reflecting and having proper questions when you're reflecting. And for me, for me personally, I think where I'm at is like I want to always know where my joy is at, like where my joy resides. So it's like when you're having a reflecting question, it's like what brings you joy, and also when you know what brings you joy, how are you evolving that joy?
Um, I think the things that bring me joy are definitely the things that I'm the most passionate about, which are like social justice issues, helping my community, doing those kinds of things. And I think it's really easy for me to get burned out. And so, um, taking time to like lean into my community and find that moment of rest and reflection because it takes a long time to do some of the things that I want to do. And I think in a world where we're so like focused on instant gratification, it feels hard to work on something that takes years to develop. Um, I'm sorry, repeat the question again.
No, the question is, what brings you joy, and how does that joy evolve once you have the joy?
Um, and so I think for me, because I've had that joy for a very long time, um, it's so funny because I can go back to like a newspaper article from like when I won a scholarship for college. Um, and I told them that I wanted to help people. And they were like, "Do you want to be a lawyer?" And I was like, "No, but I know I want to help people. I really want to help my community."
Mm,
And like as that goal continues to evolve and continues to like form, because I've never been somebody who had like an ideal, like, I'm gonna be a CEO of something, or I'm gonna do this, or I'm
yeah.
gonna do that. I just knew that I had this like really broad goal that I wanted to focus on. Um, as that forms and that evolves and that shapes, I think for me, the biggest thing is balance because I am somebody who gives my all to these goals. And as you get older, your life changes. You have a significant other, you build a family, things look different. And so, how does that balance change? How do I still make time for my friends intentionally? How do I still intentionally make friends? I mean, time for my family. How do I still give back to my community and still have time for myself?
Yeah.
to feel like I'm refilling my cup up enough to do
Yeah.
the things for everyone else. And so
Ooh.
I think I at one point in time I tried to start monetizing my hobbies. Um, and don't get me wrong, I think that's a beautiful thing, but I think in this world where we're trying to monetize everything, it's okay to have certain things just for self. And
Hmm.
so I don't do everyone's nails anymore. I don't perform everywhere anymore, right? Like I have so many different lives. Um, I find joy
And
in
shout out
like doing
to Nail
things for
Tech Mark.
myself.
He was one of them. Y'all could never. Y'all could never.
But yeah, I think in that evolution, I think it's about finding the balance, because I do still want to show up, and I do still want to be that person that all of my friends, all of my family know that I can be.
Yeah.
Um, but how does that change as you like evolve in life? And I think, and it doesn't always look the same, and so that's where communication and being vulnerable comes in.
Yeah.
Right now, I can sit here and tell all my friends, listen, don't look for me for the next 2 years because I'm be in school.
Yeah.
I'll call y'all in December and in some break.
It's
But if
gift
I
bas
got anything going
it's
on,
gift baskets from September, gift baskets and how are you?
legit, legit, like send your girl some coffee and some Celsius because she gonna be on her study grind. Um, but my friends love me enough and they know that I'm always coming with good intentions, right? And so they can say, we understand
Yeah.
and we're not gonna look at this as like a flaw.
Yeah.
And like you have to have people in your community who can see like where you're at, what you're growing towards, and make sure that they're still showing up for you in a way that matters as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you said that because a lot of times as well in like finding that joy, even when it comes within yourself, but then externally with people, right? It's like finding that joy of like, oh, this is somebody that
Hmm.
understands what's happening.
These
You
are my
know?
people.
Yeah,
These
this
are
is
my
my people.
people.
Like
Yeah.
like everyone, you may have somebody that's making you explain shit, like annoying, but you got your people that it's like you can say, "Yo, this is what I'm on. This is what I'm doing," and then they can use the thoughts and know you to be like, "Oh, all right, yeah,
Hmm.
if she doing, all right, she good," and but you still show up this way to be like, "Hey, yo, you good? You good? Yeah, I bet." Like you still show up for your people, and I think a lot of times is like this community needs people to be showing up all the time. I think one thing about me and you is we've lived across the street from each other our whole growing up into our teenage years. We've done the 20s and college and everything, being in different places. We've come back to being in the same place. Like we've been able to see all of those things in our lives to know that like this is a person that in any season of my life, I know if they're gonna see me and I'm gonna see them. And I think when you're in a new season and when you're trying to find a new season, I'm talking to that person as well that's trying to find a new season. Look at the people who make you feel human in front of them. Look for those people. Let that be your helpers in your new season. Don't allow distractors because you don't. You can't. You gotta look for the ones that make you feel seen because every human wants to be seen, but it's deeper than that. Makes you feel human. That's important.
Yeah. No, it's real. Um, I I'm not good at like I'm really good with connecting with people, but I'm not good with like holding on to friendships because I think from young was very discerning on like these are not going to be
How
my
people
friends
we
for
move.
life.
Yeah.
I think I was also like I kind of understood that in your like primary years you're friends with people because you guys are in the same vicinity and you're going to the same school together and you're doing the same things together. But would you choose to be friends with that person?
Yeah.
Um, and I've held on to certain friends throughout the years, like one or two from like certain selections, but I think I like truly found my like core group of friends when I got to college. And they are people who I would choose time and time again and continue to choose, right? And like these are the women that like feed in women and men who feed into me and who love me and nurture me in ways that like I cannot do myself.
Yeah,
And it's important because family is family, but like your friends are the family you choose. And you can
exactly.
truly choose to build a foundation of love and mutual respect and like encouragement. And we were all like in college, we were all like, all right, we get shit done. You know, we have a lot of fun, but we also get shit done.
Yeah,
And everybody was on the same timing. And to this day, everybody going in their own directions is still on that timing.
yeah, yeah.
So it's
No,
not
because
hard for us to like even just hit the group chat and be like, this is what's going on, that's what's going on. I might have a FaceTime with this one, but then the network of them are talking, and then it's like, all right, sis, we're gonna show up for you on this day, or we're gonna try to do a group FaceTime or whatever it is. Like we show up for each other because we know how much that means to us and how important it is.
exactly, and for me, I feel like understanding those people help in your life, right? For me, it's a secret. I love Jesus Christ, but I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful for the people He's put in my life because I don't take that for granted. And there are, you know, I had Taylor tell me once. She was like, "Bro, I don't know that much people," and I was like, "I know a lot of people. I know a lot of, and I love people, but I know my people. I know I know the person I could call. I know and this is the vulnerability about learning that community and being guided in that community, feeling safe there, doing your own thing, but having that peace. It's like I know if it was the worst of the worst, and you've seen it before, it's you can call that person and tell them it's the worst of the
Mm-hmm.
worst. You don't got sugarcoat shit. And one thing I will also say is like when you're in a new season and you're defining your energies, you have to be really, really real about the energy. You can't just want somebody around to want them around. For me, maybe my age is showing, but it's like that's not where we are in our lives. That's not where we are.
Yeah, and I think like especially when I was saying earlier, like going into my 30s, I think that's what like that whole like reevaluation was. And I think, you know, like there was a part of me that was also kind of sad because I had lost out on some of my 20s, and a bunch of us lost out a couple of years from the pandemic, right? Um, and so I think I was really in the mode of just being like, well, how can I make the most of what's like ahead of me? And like, how can I become the person that I know that I am and like the person that my grandfather worked so hard to like build and become, because like that's where honestly where like all the community stuff like and just being a good person, all of that stems from him and my aunt and my grandmother, right? Like they pretty much raised me and taught me like if we weren't in the church, we were in one of these community board meetings because my grandfather was involved in local politics, and if we weren't in a community board meeting, we were in some local
Yeah.
nonprofit get together or his volunteer organization. Like we were always surrounded with community, and so he really like kind of set into my foundation that like you always have to give back. We are like
Yeah.
so like blessed, and like when I was younger, when he kept saying that we were blessed, I you know, I think as a kid we don't really have like the real concept of money and things like that. And so now I understand like they were not rich, they didn't have the most. I now like before I was like, oh, I live in a house. Like when I moved out of the apartment with my mom and my grandparents, I was like, oh, we have a house. I'm we're doing good. Like
Hmm.
we don't have the biggest house. We do not live in the nicest area. Like we don't have like the best of anything, but we have more than enough to give to others.
To give, and that.
And you can give in so many different ways. And I think that was
Ooh,
why they like were so focused on my education, because it was like you can go and do something that helps
yeah,
people.
but
You can.
I just want to say, but can you see how that example permeates?
Oh
Not,
yeah.
it permeates in you. It permeates in when you step into a space. And it's like when we go back to community, it's like that's the value.
Hmm.
The wrong community teaches you something totally different. And I don't want to.
Exactly.
Well, actually, there is wrong, but I ain't trying to trigger nobody like wrong, right? But like
Just different values. I think they
different
have different
values.
values.
Yeah,
And like, so now me in my 30s, I'm like, okay, well, what are my values? I know like what I was taught and like what I grew up doing, because almost like as a kid, like you're like, well, I have to do it because my family's telling me I got to do
hmm
it. But like, what do I want, and what do, like, I think a lot of people are I like caught up in this like whole mindset of legacy, right? But like, I guess if that's what we're gonna like bring it back to, like, what is my legacy? And my legacy is that I'm a good person. Like everybody, there are gonna be some people who will have a like a villain story for me because they don't understand my intentions, and maybe what I did came across wrong or whatever the situation was. But I know that like everything that I do, I always do with good intentions. And if I do something wrong, I learn from it so that way I can try to show my intentions the next time.
yeah.
It's about being a little bit more compassionate and trying to like
And
just make the
the
world a better
accountability.
place. Yeah.
You know the thing is like, I think one thing God teaches all of us is you didn't. The first moment it happened, you didn't want to take accountability. Now you're in an accountability fight, and once you take the accountability, then you can learn what you're saying, and these are the lessons that I really needed to learn.
And I think sometimes like the definition of accountability can sometimes be skewed for people because it's like, well, this person did this to me and da da da, and this happened and that happened.
No, it's what you did.
It's what you did. It's how you show up in the world sometimes, right? Like, and like, I know for me, a lot of my trauma is trauma from my mother.
Yeah,
I had to get to a certain point where I was like, her story is not my story,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Right? Like, I'm taking so much accountability that at some point in time, I just start taking on the things that she did to me as well. And I'm like, well, it's my fault. It's my fault. I did all of these things, and right. And like, you don't have to take on anybody else's trauma and what they did wrong, but you can say, moving forward, I would never allow myself to be in a situation like that again.
yeah.
I can take accountability to say, like, I'm going to do my best to make sure that I show up and am present and cannot allow these things to happen. But I think sometimes like accountability kind of gets skewed because like there are things that I think that we're all working through and that we're fighting through, and like we got to be a little bit more compassionate to ourselves.
Most
It's not
definitely.
your fault. You didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah,
And when you can internalize that, you can be a little kinder to yourself.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I feel like the compassionate part is necessary in accountability. Like, it's not really accountability if you're just trashing yourself. That's just making
Mhm.
yourself feel better about something. It's understanding the nuances of the feeling that you're having. And you know, the thing is like, this isn't one of those for me, easier said than done. This is one of those like, we don't need to do that here. We just need to just figure our account. We don't got to do that sentence.
Yeah.
It's life, you know. And a lot of things in my life, I've seen where I was wrong, and I've seen where I trashed myself, and I was
Mhm.
never wrong. So it's like if those two can happen, that means there's a way to find a proper balance
Yeah.
to look at things correctly, bro. My pen almost fell, bro. We have done it. I I'm looking at my book. Thank you, bro.
I love it.
This was one of those, and let's bring it home. Wait, I was about to go into
Before
a
you continue,
yeah. I was about to go into a whole show. Let's bring it home because I want to
like you
ask
can
you the.
call me after if that's
I
the case.
I mean, you know I will. I just want to ask you the final question that I ask every guest. And by the way, bro, yes, I am gonna do it. I don't give a yo. Thank you, bro. I know I'm gonna say it, but thank you, thank you. This
No,
was amazing.
thank you for having me again. Like you said, our first talk isn't up here. But for those of you who don't know, this is technically the fifth season because my guy has been doing this since 2020, and that original season is not up because initially it was just
We just
let's create a
talking.
space.
Yeah,
Like let's just create a space to kind of like have these conversations in a moment where the world was burning. Um, and we just needed to find a moment of like connection. And so I'm just happy to be here with you all these years later, to congratulate you on coming so far and hopefully another
Thank you,
5, 10,
bro.
15, 20 years
Amen.
to do it. You know, you're doing something special and connecting the community in a way I think is really important.
Amen. Thank you, bro. Thank you. So I'm gonna dive into the final question. I'm only just happy because it's like we did it. The combos, it's in the book. But let me ask you the final question that I ask every guest, bro. If if you were to advise somebody that is currently walking into a new season, defining their energies, what is one thing you would tell them to keep at the forefront of their mind to encourage them daily, each day?
Ooh, um, I think I would say really focus on what your goals are, what makes you like tick, what are you passionate about. Um, I've always been big on saying like whatever you're passionate about and whatever you're good at, find in the middle where those things meet. And you're going to find a space where you thrive because you are not only going to be able to have something that when it's a hard day, you truly care about it and it still brings you joy, but on those exceptionally hard days, you love this so much that it's not a job.
Yeah,
It's not a job. You're doing the hard work to help make whatever it is better. And so I think when you have those things in mind, it shifts you out of being like, I can't do this into this is going to be long, hard, and grueling, but I got this. I got this because I know what the end goal is and I know what that's going to bring me.
yeah,
And so I think when you can kind of like identify those things and really hone in on it, and of course, have a community, have people you can talk to. Um, Also, have a licensed therapist if you can afford one.
yeah,
I say that just because sometimes we need people who are unbiased. I think like my mind was like my biggest enemy for such a long time that it wasn't until I started talking to my therapist that she reminded me that the world is not out to get me. Everybody does not hate me. Like
yeah,
nobody and everybody in the world is not gonna reject you, right?
exactly.
And so like having somebody who can really be unbiased and put things into a clinical perspective, I think really changes everything and it helps you to understand where your weaknesses are and how you can show up a little bit
Yeah,
differently. Um, but yeah, having those goals in mind and you know, not everything's gonna be easy.
not.
There is no such thing as easy mode. This is not a video game.
Yeah, this is not. It's life mode.
Yeah,
It's literally life mode, bro.
we did it. I know the kiddies be doing the other one, but I'm sorry, I'm not Gen Z.
Bro, nah. I gotta say, this, I was excited. I forgot we weren't on Instagram Live for a little bit, but then I remembered a couple times. But bro, I love you, man. I don't gotta give you the soliloquy. You already know. I
Love you. You know the
love you,
vibes.
man. Thank
Always.
you. Thank you so much. I really hope as you listen to this conversation that you can take something from it to understand that like you can create new seasons. It's your energy. You can choose to be in a new season. You can work for it. And also like nobody can tell you once your energy, once you're defining your energy correctly.
Show up
Like
for yourself.
yeah, you
If you
show up
show
for
up for
yourself.
yourself, nobody can tell you you're not him or her. I'm
Yeah.
always her. Every space I walk into because I know I show up for myself and I do the work.
And I continue to do the work. Meaning, I'm not perfect, but I'm working. So
Yep.
I want you to know if you're in the new season, lean on that. If you're trying to find a new season, find how you want to lean on that because it is going to be important for us moving forward. It was also like a double entendre. I'm not a rapper, but like we going into summer, so it's like we doing new seasons out here, and just look at your energies, look at your pace, look at everything, look at your mindset. Like for me, that's what I'm looking at because I've declared a new season. and God has given me ammunition for it. So I just want everyone to know that you can do that for yourself too. Declare it, and then go to God and let Him affirm it. So, bro, sorry, I just had to get that off. But bro, thank you so much for being in this space with me. And as I say before I end every conversation, until next time, everybody. I will see you sometime in May. I said in the beginning of this conversation, unbiased. This is the best month of the year. So see y'all a couple more times. Thank you, bro. Love you.
Love you so much.
Later.
Bye.
Later, y'all.